Yeah, hi guys, good morning. In today's session, we'll work on batch scripting. Okay, so batch scripting is something which is very important as part of automation. Hope my voice is clear. Yeah, and also let me share my screen. Let me know if you are able to see my screen.
We are safe.
Uh,
Yes, yes, we can
okay,
see.
okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, yeah, okay. So batch scripting. So hopefully, as part of automation, we will be using bash scripting, okay, in Linux environment. So, what do you mean by bash scripting, or what I mean by saying automation? So, what kind of automation do we do? For example, okay, for example, assume that daily, as part of my job role, daily I need to log into my servers to do the sanity test. Okay, so basically, what do you mean by sanity? Okay, where I will check for pre iPhone, okay, and I will check what are the processes which are running and the disk space, okay, and then if any memory is been occupied, then I will clear up these directory spaces, okay. So every day I need to execute this set of tasks on my servers so that I need to do the sanity test. So basically, sanity test means we will log into the server, we'll check if there is enough free space, if any processes are running, okay, and the disk spaces, okay, which file systems has been occupied. So this is part of my daily job, and these commands need to be executed 2 or 3 times per day or one time per day, okay. For example, in this case, so what I will be doing, I will be executing I will log into the server and I will execute these commands manually and collect the output and share with the respective team, okay. So now, if suppose I don't want to do this manually, because this is a daily task, right? So what I want to do is I want to automate this. In this case, we can use,
Amit, sir,
yeah.
sir, can you please keep your mic little bit away because the voice is too, weird.
Is this okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so instead of logging in daily and executing these commands manually, what I want to do is I want to automate this process. Means without any manual intervention, these commands needs to get executed. So in this case, what I can do, I can use a scripting called batch scripting in Linux. Okay, so basically a script is nothing but a kind of text file, I can say, okay, which will have an extension with .bash, okay. So kind of text file where we will be writing these different commands and I will execute that script. So what that script will do, the script will help me to execute these commands, okay. For example, let me log into my AWS Linux server. Okay, so this is my AWS account. Here I have one EC2 which is already created. Okay, so if I'll open this, here we can find one server with Linux. Okay, so this is my Linux machine which is in stop state. So let me just start this machine first. Okay, and then let me try to connect. So how to connect to our servers? How to connect to any remote server? What is the command? So what I have seen is most of you guys are using session manager. So I will recommend not to use session manager. Please use putty, mobaxterm or git bash to connect to your servers, okay, because in real time you might not get access for session manager, you will not be having that particular role. In that case, what you will do, okay, so make sure to use git bash, PuTTY or mobile exams to connect you to your remote machines. Okay. So let me first let this get started initializing. Okay, if I click on connect SSH client, so this is my command to connect, right? So now let me open my Git bash terminal. So my keygen is on desktop, so I will be executing this from desktop location. Yes. Okay, let me switch to root user because I don't want any kind of issues with permissions. I'm using root as of now. Okay, so done. Now I want to create one script. So how to create a file? We can use the name called, we can use the editor vi. Okay, and script will be called as test because I just want to test this one. So I will execute the script as test. Okay, and then hash exclamatory slash bin slash bash. So why I'm using this particular line? So we'll explain this after some time. Okay. So now what I want to do, I want to execute free -m, okay, ps-ef and df. Okay, so these three commands are part of my daily task. Okay, so what I have did, I have written these three commands inside one file called test. Okay, so now let me save this. So once this is done, now in order to execute this, we need to have execute permissions. Okay, so let me add some permissions. Okay, let me go for chmod 7. Let me go for full permissions for now. Okay, test. Now if I want to execute this, I can go from dot / and then test. Now what's the output? The moment I have executed my script, so what we can see, pre-FRM, this is the output, and then PSF&EF. So this is what we get generally from PSF&EF. Okay, and if I'll execute DF, then this is what we get. Okay, so what we have did, we have automated our manual process now. Okay, so generally a script will consist of different commands. Different commands in the sense Linux commands itself. Again, in script we have some conditions. Okay, we need to pass some variables. We can use for loop, while loop, if conditions. Okay, so there's a different part. So for now, just understand that script is nothing but a set of commands which will help us to automate the process. Okay, now before understanding script, so we'll just see, what are the different type of interfaces what is available in Linux. Okay, for example, okay, so this is our hardware. This is our kernel. Okay, hardware, kernel, and then we can find our shell over here. And then we can find our application. And then this will be the users who are using the operating system. Okay. What do you mean by hardware? Hardware, basically this will be CPU, our memory. Okay, so this comes under the hardware. Okay, so what do you mean by kernel? Kernel, as we discussed earlier, kernel is nothing but the heart of the operating system. Okay, so whenever if I want to communicate, kernel is a kind of interface between hardware which will help us to communicate with the hardware. Okay, shell, what do you mean by shell? Shell is nothing but a terminal which will take the command as input, okay, and provide the output. Okay, and then we have application means that can be either our browsers or any other XYZ applications which are installed in the operating systems. Okay, And then users means, for example, I am the user of my Linux server. So if I want to execute anything, right? So what I will do, I will open one shell and I will execute one command, for example, top, and the top command will communicate with kernel, and kernel will communicate with hardware, and this will provide the output for us. Okay, so this is how we are able to get the output in Linux. Okay, so basically kernel is a interface between our hardware and software. Okay, so initially start with the users, and then we have the application, then we have shell, we have kernels, and we have hardware. Okay, so hardware is CPU and memory, kernel is nothing but a program. I mean, if I'm executing top command, so it is a kind of predefined program which will show me the output. Okay, so shell, what can be the example for shell? It can be GUI or bash. GUI means graphical user interface. For example, this screen, whatever we are seeing on Windows, right? So this is not, this is also one of the shell available in Windows machine. Okay, for example, if I'm clicking on this browser, okay, so what this is doing, this is telling my kernel to open Chrome. Whenever I'm clicking, right click and then click on open, so it in backend it is trying to command to kernel, okay, to open this browser. So this is how this will be working. Okay, and then we have our applications. For example, what application do we have on Windows? We have Chrome, we have Docker Desktop, we have Ultra Viewer. Okay, we have some PDF, we have Word. Okay, all these are different applications which are available in my Windows machine. Okay, so whereas in Linux also, in Linux generally what we see, if suppose this is my server, right? So what we are able to see, do are we able to see any Windows I mean any browser over here? This is only CLI. CLI means command line interface. There is no graphical user interface in my server. But if I want to set up any graphical user interface, then it is also possible. We can also install graphical user interface for Linux as well, where we can install the browsers, we can install different applications as well. Okay, so apart from CLI, we can also see the GUI part in Linux. Okay, but for now there is no GUI, we only have the CLIs. Okay, and then users, basically the general users who are using this operating system. Okay, and here shell and kernel together built in one package called operating system. Basically means shell and kernel. So these two sections are nothing but our operating system. So this is a kind of single package which will create one operating system for us. Okay. And application and shell are called as softwares. Means these two sections, application and shells, these two sections we call as softwares in Linux. Okay. So if we execute any command, then what will happen? Then shell will talk to kernel, and kernel will communicate with hardware and execute the operations. Okay, for example, if I'm executing ps-ef, so this is nothing but black and white screen. What is this? This is a shell which is available in Linux machine. Okay, whenever I'm executing ps-ef, I need to open one shell. Okay, the moment I'll execute ps-ef, what it is doing in the backend, it is communicating with the kernel. And what kernel is doing? Kernel is communicating with the hardware, okay, and display the output for us. Okay, so this is what happening in the backend. Okay, guys, understood?
Yes.
Yes.
Bash scripting might look somewhat complex because no one has the programming experience, right? So bash scripting is not programming, it is just a kind of scripting. So there is a lot of difference between scripting and programming language. In programming language, we can see 10 to 15 pages or 100 pages of code, okay, which communicate with different pages. But whereas in scripting, it will be a single page code only, okay, within the same text file. So we can have, I mean, it's a one page kind of code which will help us to automate certain process. Okay, so do not get confused or panicked. You will understand this slowly. Okay. Now, what is shell? Basically, as I said, I mean, shell is interface between users and kernel operating system, kernel or operating system. Okay. CLI is a shell. GUI is also a shell. CLI is what we are seeing this page, and GUI is nothing but this page. I mean, the graphical user interface. Okay. So now, how will you understand which shell you are using? So I have currently logged into my Linux server, right? So how will I understand which shell I'm using? For example, in this case, what I will do, let me clear the screen. Okay, echo $0. Here we can see currently I'm using bash shell. Okay, so how many type of different shells available in my Linux server? What I can do, I can use cat etc shells. If I'll hit enter, here we can find different type of shells which are already installed in my Linux server, I mean Amazon Linux machine. Okay, so this is how we can check the list of shells which are available. Okay, this is my current shell what I'm using. Okay, and if I want to see which user is been associated with which shell, okay, here whenever we try to log in, right, so here we have a user called Saber. Okay, this is the user ID, this is the group ID, this is the home path, and this path represents which shell is currently associated with this particular user. Means whenever I log in with the user called Saber, then I will be getting the shell called /bin/bash. Okay, currently I am logged into the user called root, right? So if I scroll up, here we can see we have the default shell which is /bin/bash. Okay, if you want to change this, we can do this, but as of now, let me continue with the same shell. Okay, now how many type of shells we have? We have Genome. As I said, we can install Genome packages in my Linux server, and I can make it more graphical user interface as well. It doesn't mean that in Linux servers we are only using black and white scripts. No, we can also install graphics as well, but we need to download the Genome packages. Okay, so Genome is one of the package, and KDE is also one of the graphical environment in Linux which is available. Again, this will also help us with the graphics. Okay, and then we have one shell called sh. So basically sh means shell, so which has been created by Bourne. Okay, I mean this is his name who has developed this. Okay, and it was developed by Unix. Okay, sorry, so this has been developed by Unix by Stephen Bourne. So that's the reason we got the name as Bourne. Okay, so this was initially when they have developed this shell. So but after some enhancements, so whatever we are using right now, right, so bash shell, so bash script or bash shell, let me use echo $0. Let me clear the screen. Okay, echo $0. So currently I'm using bash shell. So this is nothing but a advanced feature of shell, means newer version with lot of enhancements. Okay, if I say bash, this is new feature of shell with lot of enhancements. That's the reason we call this as born again shell. Okay, and then we have CSH and TCSH. So basically this is nothing but C shell, and this is nothing but 10x C shell. There's the advanced version of C shell. Okay, and then we have KSH. So we this is nothing but corn shell. So all these shells are same. There is no difference in this shell. But if I use bash shell, right, so we'll get the advanced feature of programming. Okay. So currently, if anyone is asking in interviews whether you have worked on shell scripting or bash scripting, it means both are same. So as part of our training, we will be using batch scripting only, which is the advanced version of shell scripting. Okay. So always try to stick to batch scripting. Which scripting you have worked on? I have worked on batch scripting. Okay. So what are different shells which are available or installed in my machine? Cat etc shells. Here we can see what all shells I have represented, right? So sh, this is already installed. Bash is already installed. Okay, and then we have TCSH, and then we have CSH. The only thing which is not installed is ksh. Okay, and then for example, if you want to switch to any particular shell, okay, I mean instead of using bash shell, I want to use shell, I mean sh only. So what I can do, I can execute sh and hit enter. Okay, and if I do echo $0, then we can see which shell I'm using currently. So currently I'm using shell interface. Okay, for example, if I want to get out of this, then I can go for exit, then I will get back out of the shell. Okay, now if I want to use csh, okay, for example, then I can go for csh. Okay, and if I do echo $0, it will display which shell I'm using right now. Okay, if I want to use tcsh, okay, if I'll do echo $0, this will display which shell I'm using. Okay, if I want to use ksh, I can use ksh, but here I can see command not found because this shell is not installed. Can we see this ksh in the above output? No, because this is not installed. That's the reason command not found. Okay, so if I want to use bash, I can go for bash. Okay, so if I'll do echo $0, then I can see currently I'm using bash shell. Okay, but before creating any scripts, we need to make sure of certain points. Okay, so we need to make sure what should be the naming conventions. We need to make sure what kind of permissions needs to be given. Okay, we need to make sure of the script sequence as well. Okay, so these are the some basic points what we need to remember before writing any script. Okay, so now, for example, if you want to run any script, in this case, how can we run this script? For example, let me create one script. So here we can see two different paths. So we have absolute path and we have relative path. Absolute path means for example, pwd. So let me create one directory called -p. Okay, I have created one directory called where, and then this is my script location. Okay, if I'll do pwd, so this is my location. Now I want to create one script called, okay, vi hello world. So let me create one script called hello world. Okay, now slash bin dot bash echo hello world. Okay, so what I have did, I have just created one simple script by using echo as my command. Okay, so I need to change the permissions now. Chmod, let me use 777 for now as well. Okay, so if I want to execute dot forward slash, then hello world. What it will do, this will display the message which is been configured in the echo. Okay, now where is my script stored? This is stored inside the directory called subware, and inside that directory we have one directory called scripts, and here is my script. Okay, so if I am coming to this directory and then executing this script, it means that I'm into the relative path. Okay, for example, if suppose currently where I am at my root location. Okay, slash where from root location itself I am trying to execute my script. Now what is this path? Okay, so what I have did, I have executed two ways. Okay, so if suppose I am at the root location, I am trying to execute the script by passing the directories and executing the script name, it means that I am in my absolute path. Okay, if suppose I am getting to that particular location from my root location, I am moving to my location where my script is actually available. Okay, and then if I'm executing this, it means that I am at my relative path. Okay, so generally even when we are trying to connect over SSH, right? So my keygen is available at my desktop location, and I'm opening my shell at my desktop location. I'm in my git bash. It means that I am at my relative path. If suppose I have my keygen in some other location and I'm just passing that path and trying to connect, it means that I'm at my relative path. Okay. So we have two paths. One is absolute and one is relative path. That's clear. And if you want to execute this script, we have two ways. One is by using dot / and then script name, we can execute our script. One is by using bash and then script name. Even with this, we can execute our scripts. So we have two different ways to execute our scripts. One is by using dot / and then script name, and one is by using bash and then script name. Okay. Now, as I said, we have certain scripting standards. Okay. So always we need to make sure that we need to create one directory to store scripts, because for example, what I have did, for example, let me go to cd and if I'll do ls, right? So here what I have did, I have created one script called test. I have created one script at the root location and another script in my scripts directory. So what will happen? For now, I will be able to remember this, but after 1 year or 2 years, then it will be very difficult for us to remember the past. So always what we need to do, we need to make sure to create one directory as I have did. Okay, so this is my location. So all my scripts will be stored in this particular location only. So we need to create a specific directory for scripts. And if you are writing 100 scripts, 200 scripts, or 10 scripts, then make sure to store all the scripts in the same location. So this is one of the best practices in bash scripting. I mean, always make sure to store the scripts in a specific location so that you will not be forgetting the locations. Okay. And then we have script name should identify the function. Means, for example, what I have did, okay, just now I have created a script called hello world. So if I catch the script as well, okay, it means that whatever this script will perform, I mean whatever the script will do, what kind of functions or what will be the output, so based upon the script usage only try to provide the name, or else what will happen again in future after 1 month or 2 months, if you want to execute the script for hello world and this is with some other name, then we need to cat and we need to check all the scripts what is the output. Okay, so make sure to give proper naming conventions. That's the reason I will ask each and every time to provide proper names to your Linux servers as well. If it is something for Linux, then provide for Linux. If it is RHL images, go for RHL so that it will not create any confusion between. Okay. So always make sure to use proper naming conventions. And then we have third one, script should end with dot shell. Means, for example, what shell I'm using right now? I'm using bash shell. So this is my script name, but I haven't created any convention, I mean extension over here. So what generally it is recommended is always make sure to provide extension with the specific shell which you are using. Means hello world.bash. So what will happen now? So with this, with the help of this extension, I will, or some other one, I mean some other person from the team will able to understand that this is a bash script which will execute hello world as output. Okay, so based upon the name itself, the user should be able to understand, okay, so what might be the output of this, and based upon the extension, a user should understand which script we are using, because we have different shells available, right? So the user should understand which shell we are using for this. Okay, so these are the three standards of naming conventions what we need to use. Okay, and then all scripts to be executed should have proper executable file permissions. So this should be our file permissions. Okay, basically 755 should be our file permissions. For example, let me create one more script. Okay, viabc.bash. I'm using proper naming conventions. Okay, hash exclamatory slash bin slash bash, and then echo abc. Okay, this is also a simple script which is executing abc. Okay, now if I do ll, here we can see that there is no permissions of I mean there is no executable permissions for this script. So if I try to execute this script, for example bash, if permission denied, why? Because there is no permission. So always whenever we create any script, or else for example if you don't want to provide permission, then what we can do, we can use bash and then abc.bash. So what this will do, so if we are using bash, right, so this will ignore, I mean this will not check for permission, this will directly execute our script. If you are using dot forward slash, then it will check for the permissions. Okay, but always make sure to provide 7555 permissions. So how to provide permissions? Chmod 7555 abc.bash. Now if I try to execute dot forward slash abc.bash, then we can see the output as abc. Okay, guys, clear?
Yes.
Still we are at the naming conventions only. I haven't written any proper scripts. Okay, so still we are seeing the best naming conventions, what can be given, what type of file permission should be provided to this script. Because after, I mean, for example, if you have started attending the interviews, right, so out of 10 interviews there will be one interview where they might ask or ask you to write any sample script. Okay, not all the 10 interviews, in all the 10 interviews they will be asking you about the bash scripting. So scripting is very important, but not I mean not sure whether they will ask to write a script in interviews or not. So that is a very rare question. Okay, but still we need to have these basics of scripting. Okay, now each script should have a certain format. But why do we require format? So that this will help us to understand our script very easily. For example, if I open vi hello world, okay, I'm opening my existing script. Okay, so here what we have two different things. One is the interpreter first line, and then I'm passing the echo message. Okay, so but as of now this is very simple script. So there's a reason anyone can understand that the output of the script will be hello world only. Okay, but in case if we have a script for 20 pages or 30, I mean 20 lines or 30 lines, right, so in this case it will be very difficult for anyone to understand. So we need to always make sure to put proper comments in my script. Okay, so what kind of comments should be available? We need to provide some details in our skill. For example, this one. Okay, so first part, yeah, okay, so first part we need to define shell. So what I have did now, let me scroll this. Okay, so the first line is nothing but we are defining shell, which shell we are using. So currently which shell I'm using, slash bin slash bash. Okay, and hash and exclamatory are called as shebang characters. Okay, hash slash equal to shebang. Okay, and then slash bin slash bash is shell, which we will be using. Okay, so first line of our script, whatever we are seeing, right, hash exclamatory slash bin slash bash is nothing but shebang character, and then we are defining which shell we are using. Okay, this is not mandatory, but this is one of the best practices so that the other user can understand. Okay, and then we need to provide any comments basically in any programming language, not only bash scripting. Even if you are trying to work on docker files or ansible playbooks or terraform templates, so comments play very important role. Okay, comment basically what this will do, this will help us to understand what we are doing. Okay, So what kind of comments I can use? I can use any comments, but we need to make sure that comment should be written before hash. Okay, you need to use hash and then pass the comment. For example, purpose testing script format. Okay, and then I'm writing one more comment, that is date. So on which particular date this script has been created. So this script has been created on 0905/2023. Okay, modifications means, I mean, on which particular date this has been modified, 09/05/2023. Okay, and then we can go for any variables. Okay, so this was our second point, comments, where what I have did, I have passed as the purpose of the script, date, on this particular date the script has been written. Okay, and on which particular date, for example, tomorrow, I mean on 10th of May, if I'm making any changes for this script, then what I will do, I will modify this date only for user understanding. Okay, this will not play any kind of role in our script, but this is only for other users who will try to use our script. వాళ్ళకి అర్థం అవ్వడానికే we will try to put proper comments. Okay, this is one section. And then we need to define variables. Okay, what is variable? Variable will work as a container, means that will help us to store anything. Container, generally in regular terms, what do you mean by container? For example, one box is one container. Okay, what we do, we try to store something inside the container. So same concept, variables will try to store something. Okay, so what I am doing, I am using a as my variable equal to, and then I'm using hello world. Okay, and here what I'm trying to do, again I'm trying to call my variable. So how to call any variable? We need to use $a and then the variable name. So a is my variable name and hello world is my content which I have stored inside my container, I mean inside my variable a. And then I'm using the command called echo, and I am calling my variable with the name called $a. Okay, so if you want to call any variable, we need to use dollar symbol. Okay, and then statements, final section is statements. So if suppose you want to pass any condition statements, that in this case I can use this. So for now, let me try to make this pretty simple. I don't want to make this complex. Okay, so what we are doing, we are using same script, but only we have defined some comments so that this will be easy for the other user to understand. And then I have configured one variable. Okay, so now let me try to execute. What will happen? Okay, already we have the permissions, right? So I will not be changing any permissions. /hello world.bash. So what's happening? Hello world is the output. Okay, so if I'll cat this here, if you see what I have echoed $a. Inside $a, what was available? Value was hello world. That's the reason it is displaying hello world. Okay, so this is how we can define variables. But why do we need variables? For example, again, for example, we have 100 lines of script over here. Okay, so if you want, instead of hello world, I want to make this change as hello DevOps. Okay, instead of hello world, I want to make this as hello DevOps. So what will happen? We need to make the changes in all the 100 lines. I mean, wherever we are trying to call this message, we need to make the changes manually. But when we use variables, what will happen? When we use variables, we will be only changing the variable name. That's it. Okay, I will just, sorry, I will just change the variable name. Okay, sorry, variable value. So I will just change the variable value. What will happen? So if I'll execute this, here we can see hello DevOps are our output. So variables will help us to make our script more generic. Instead of hard coding, we make it more generic. Okay, don't get confused with variables and other stuff. So let us ignore for now and let us proceed. So here we have one script with the specific conditions. Okay, so I will not use this script for now. Okay, and then we have sequence of the script, means for example cat test. So for example, this is our script what we have used earlier, right? Sequence of script means in bash scripting or shell scripting, what will happen? The first command which has been provided will get executed first, and then this will execute second command, and then this will execute third command. Means the sequence is top to bottom. If you want to execute something first, then we need, for example, if you want df to be executed first, in this case what we can do, we need to provide df in the initial itself. Okay, and then it will execute free FNM, and then it will execute PSFNEF. So the sequence for any script will be top to bottom only. So script will execute from top to bottom. Example, ls date history, then ls will get execute first, date will get execute second, and history command will get execute third. Okay. Guys, understood?
Yes.
So now let me try to create one script with the basic output hello world. This has been already created. Okay, so let me try to do one thing. It is where scripts. Okay, let me delete the existing scripts which has been written. Okay, I have deleted this. Now let me create how to create one script. Vi, guys, please respond. How to create one script? I want to create one script with hello world as the output. Vi, and then file name will be hello world, and then the extension will be bash because we're using bash. And then this will be the defining my variable, I mean Chimay character, and then which shell I'm using. Okay, and then purpose, I mean if you want we can write, but this is one of the best practices, so always try to use this. Okay, script for hello world, and then modification what we have 09/05/2023. Okay, owner, this will be my name. So if you want you can add any comments. Okay, so and also one more thing, comments will not get executed. This is only for user to understand. So whenever we use hash in front of any line, right, it means that this has been commented, and script will ignore that. Okay, and then what we have, we need to write one script. Echo hello world. Okay, so this is our script now. So now what we need to do, we need to change the permission. So what should be the permission? 7555, and then script name. Now if I want to execute dollar forward dot forward slash and then script name, so what's the output? Hello world. But here if you see, the output is very congested. I mean we have executed here and there is no spacing, so I want to make it look somewhat clear. So what I can do, va hello, and then I can add one more line, echo empty. Okay, and here also I can add one more line, that is echo. Okay, now let me try to execute. Here we can see two spaces are available. So this is our output. So we have created our first script for now. Okay, guys, easy?
Yes.
Understood? Clear?
Yes.
You will get more hands-on on this as we progress. I mean, we have some certain use cases if you'll start working on the use cases, right, then you will get to understand how a script can be written and what are the possible ways or what are the different syntaxes which can be used. Okay, now let us try to run our second script. Okay, so let me copy this. I will share this document as well after this session, so don't worry. So vi and configuring the name as commands.bash. Okay, and then let me paste this pwd, and then pwd is one command, ls is one command in Linux, who am I is also one command, date is one command, calendar is one command, touch abc. Basically what it will do, it will create 3 files. Okay, so this is our script. Let me try to save this. Here I haven't written any comments because that will take some time each and every time. So for now I will ignore this word. Whenever you would guys are working on these scripts, right? So make sure to provide comments. Do not ignore that. I want to see that in the output as well. Okay. So let me execute this. Okay, saved. Now I want to provide permissions 7555. Sorry. So we have given proper permissions as well. Now how to execute dot forward slash commands dot bash. So what's happening? Okay, ls first what it has did. For example, let me cat this and see what are the different commands we have executed. Pwd, so pwd, what is our particular location? This is showing. Okay, so currently we are in submit script, so this command has been successfully executed. And then we are doing ls. Okay, if I'll do ls, here we have two different files. I mean, when this got executed, there were only two different files. Okay, so commands.bash and hello world.bash. So this is also same. So who am I? Basically what this will show, this will show the user who has logged into our Linux machine. So root, yes. So if you want, you can execute this here. Who am I? Root. Okay, and then what we have executed, we have executed date. So this is our date. Okay, so this is our date when the script has been executed. Now and then I have executed the command called calendar. So basically what this will do, this will show the calendar for the current month. Okay, so what we have got, so we have got the calendar, means this script has successfully executed all the commands. For example vi, and then what we have commands.bash. So instead of pwd, what I will do, pwdi, I will use certain command which is not available in Linux. Okay, so pwdi is available, no. So basically what it should throw, it should throw the error as command output. So let us try to execute our script now and we'll see command dot bash. So here we can see that dot forward slash commands dot bash line number 2 pwdi command not found. Okay, in the output itself we are able to see that there is some problem with line number 2. So always make sure to check the outputs. What I have seen from last 1 week is no one is checking or reading the output. They are just thinking that this is one error. So always make sure to read the output, because output itself you will understand what is the issue. Okay, so here we can see that we have an issue in the line number 2. So let us try to fix that again. Commands.bash pwdi. How to switch? For example, if suppose you want to switch to line number 2, we have one shortcut :2 and hit enter, then it will go to line number 2. Okay, for example, if you want to go to line number 5, and then 5, here we can see, okay, which line you want to go, the cursor will be moved to that particular line only. Okay, so this is one shortcut available in vi, and then save. And now if I try to execute, then we can see the output what we were expecting. Okay, now with some other scripts as well. And then we have some basic administration tasks. So basically, as I said, right, so sanity check is something what generally we can see. Okay, so sanity checks, what we do, we make sure that there is enough space available, there are no process which are consuming more CPU utilizations. Okay, so that part we'll check in the administration task. Okay, so what we can use, I mean, we let us create one script with these commands. Okay, so let me copy vi admin.bash, which will be my name. Okay, and then hash exclamation slash bin dot bash, so shebang, and then defining which particular uh, shell. Okay, and then let me paste my commands. Okay, top df-h free fnm uptime ivo start. So these are the different commands which are available, and let me save my script. Now let me provide permissions admin.bash, and then let me try to execute dot slash admin.bash. Here we can see only top command is getting executed and other commands haven't got executed, because top command will hold the session. It will continuously monitor our box. So what this has did, this has hold our session. So what we need to do, let me exit. So the moment if I'll press Control C, then we can see different commands has been executed. Means this is df, this is free fnm, this is uptime. Basically what our uptime command will do, uptime command will help us to understand from how many minutes the server is being running, how many users are logged into this particular server. Okay, so if you want to customize this, right, so what I will do, admin.bash, then what I will do, I will use top head -10. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get only top 10 CPU utilizations. Okay, wq save, and if I execute dot slash admin.bash, there we have get some details, and then all the other commands have also executed. Okay, that's clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, shit, sorry. Now we'll see how can we define variables in bash scripting. Okay, so just now I showed one of the example for variables. Okay, so generally what do you mean by variable? As I said, variable is a container which will help us to store some data. Okay, so variable is a value that can change depending on conditions or on information passed to the program. Means this can be changed based upon the conditions. We have some conditions as well. So the way we pass the information, right, that will be passed to the variable, and then that will be passed to the script. Okay, so we have one sample script, so let me copy this. Vi variables dot bash, this is my script name, and this is a script. So what I have did, this is nothing but defining the shell, and then I am writing one command that define variables. So what I have did, I have defined different variables here. One is p, for p, I mean I have given one variable name as p, and I'm storing value pwd. Okay, and L, I'm storing the value ls. Wi, I'm storing a value who am I. D, I'm storing a value date. In C, I'm storing the value from calendar 2023. Okay, so now I'm writing one message echo run variable task, and then echo $p, $l, $wi, $d, $c. So I am calling all these variables now. So earlier what we used to do, we used to directly execute pwd, ls, wmi, date, calendar. Now same thing we are executing in terms of variables. Understood?
Yes.
Others?
Yes.
Yes.
If
Yes.
not, then let me know so that we can slow down. Okay. So same thing we are executing, but we are trying to call that in terms of variables. Okay. Variables will be very important in the next sessions. So let me store this. Let me save this. Now let me provide permissions will be 7HH variables dot bash, and then if I'll execute dot slash variables dot bash, here we can see same output but in terms of variables. So this is our PWD, and this is our uptime, this is our calendar. Okay, and this is our ls command what we have executed. So if I get this, so this was my script. So PWD has been executed calendar 2023, we can see over here. So this is how we can define variables. So let us dig some more deep into variables only. So that's one type of variables what we can define, and then we have input and output script. Input and output script means we can use two different options here. One is read and one is echo. Read is to take the command from user, and echo is to print the output, right? So what I am trying to do is I am trying to take the input from user. Okay, so my script will take the input from user and execute the output. For example, let us try to create one script for it. Okay, vi input dot bash. Okay, let us copy this. Here we can see we have one script. Let me copy. Okay, here what we are doing first is we are defining the variable, and then echo I am displaying the message called hello, my name is Saber, and then echo I'm in blank space, and then I'm asking the user what is your name, and then here we are using one variable called read, and then the name of the variable is name. Okay, what will happen, it will ask the user to enter one name, and then it will stored in the variable called name, and then it will print hello $name. Okay, so if you want to ask anything to the user in bash scripting, then we can use the variable read. I mean we can use the input string. Okay, so let me save this, get input.sh. Okay, and let me try to execute. Let me provide permission 755 input.bash, and now let me try to execute. So what, see here, echo hello, my name is Abe, and then what is your name, and the cursor has been stuck. For example, my name is Jagan. Okay, hello Jagan, this is displaying hello Jagan. Okay, so if you want to ask anything or get some information from the user, in this case we can use read, and echo is to print the output. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, it can be for anything, any command as well. For example, let me show you something. Vi variables. So what can be done next? Okay, we have seen the input variable, right? So we have one more condition for this. Okay, so let me use this. We have one more script where we are displaying the host name. Okay, so vi, let me name this as output.sh. Sorry, vi output.sh, and then let me paste this. Okay, here we need to understand this. So let me remove the tick marks. Okay, so in this particular script, what we are trying to do, so we are using one variable a, and the value for this variable is host name. Okay, and then we are trying to use hello, my name is $a, means my name is host name. What is your name? I'm storing in the variable called b. I'm asking user, okay, and then I'm printing hello $b. Okay, based upon the input whatever the user has given, it should print the output, right? So here we are using a variable, predefined variable a, and the value for the variable is hostname. So let me save this. So in Linux, if I'm using hostname, right? So what this will do, this will show me the hostname. So this is also one command in Linux which will help us to get the hostname of our machine. So what I'm expecting, my hostname should be this. Okay, but let me try to execute. So chmod 7555 and then output.sh, that output.sh, so and then dot slash output.sh. Okay, so hello, my name is hostname. So what this script has did, so for example, let me, what is your name? Saber. Okay, hello Saber. So this part is working as expected, but this part is not working. So what this should do is, hello, my name is, this should be the output. Okay, hello, my name is IP 172.3182.130.ec2.internal. So this should be printed instead of hostname. But what happened? This has taken as variable. So whenever we are trying to store, we want any command to execute inside echo, right? So we need to use that tick marks. I mean the bar. Okay, vi. Where can I find that? We can find that value exactly below our escape button. Okay, so we need to make this inside the bar. Okay, if I want to call anything inside echo, right, I mean any variable inside echo, then in this case I need to use bar mark. I don't know what symbol it is. I'm also not sure on that symbol name, but this symbol we can find below the escape button. Okay, wk save, and then let me try to execute output.sh. See now, hello, my name is IP 172.3182.132. What is your name? My name is Saber. Okay, hello Saber. So this is how we can create variables. Always make sure whenever we are using our variables inside echo command, then we need to use the tick marks, or else not required. Okay. For example, let me show you the same script. Let me open. See, I'm configuring one more variable, C hostname. Okay, echo $C. Okay, so I'm calling the same one, but let us see what will be the output. Dot slash output.sh, name Saber. Okay, so still it is failing because it is not considering this one as a command. We need to make it is in terms of tick marks. Okay. And then we have let us see what else. Okay, now we have conditions. Okay, so how much time this is done?